So yeah, I think they should be finished in terms of the node setup by end of this week, and then we'll be pretty much ready to go. CDS asked, what are the marketing plans? Are there any new exchange listings in the future? Are you guys having any plans on expanding outside the Solana ecosystem in the future? Will NFTs be included in the DEX? So in terms of the marketing plans, there are two kind of steps to Prism marketing. One is integrations and one is users. So since we are kind of dependent on integrations in a way that it doesn't matter if Prism doesn't have actual its own users on the platform, as long as we have projects integrating Prism and they have users on their own, the volume is going to flow through Prism. And one of those examples are the Fract integration. So if you go on fract.xyz, which is their website, and if you click swap, when you're trying to swap, all that happens through Prism. So all that volume is going to flow through Prism starting today. Apart from Fract, there are a few projects that have already integrated Prism, so we're waiting on them to basically deploy that to production, and then we're going to get them on the AMA as well. So in terms of the integrations, the train is pretty much started, and we're getting more and more people interested to integrate Prism. Let's see. In terms of the exchange listings, we didn't apply for any exchange listing in the past few months because the markets have been unfavorable. So it's not really a good time to apply for a listing when everything is pretty much dropping, because the exchanges are not really listing any new tokens. So we were also waiting for the Prism Pro release to apply to the exchanges, and we were also ready for some of our partners to release the Prism integration on production, so that we would have some more volume inflow that we could kind of take advantage of and use that in the negotiations. But in terms of the exchange listings, one thing that you can kind of think about when you're thinking about listings is that if the market is going up, then that's a good time to apply for a listing. But if the markets are going down, then nobody's listing new coins. In terms of expanding into other ecosystems, right now we're not really planning to expand into any other chain. Right now we're focused on Solana. So after we release the Pro Mode and margin trading functionality, then we could start thinking about expanding basically after we capture enough share of the market on Solana. And the last question of his was, will NFTs be included in the DEX? So I'm not really sure what you mean by that. So if you can kind of clarify that, I'll be able to answer you better. Taizi asked, will we earn Prism payback in the future by trading on Pro or Simple Mode? I guess you mean cashback. So this is one of the things that we're thinking about integrating into Prism. So basically, there's going to be some promotional periods when you'll get a portion of your trading fees in Prism as a cashback. So let's say 20%. This is one of the things that we're thinking about doing in terms of marketing. It's mostly used for marketing purposes to onboard new users into the platform. But mainly what you'll be able to do is in the Pro Mode and in the Simple Mode pretty soon, you'll get the fee discounts based on the amount of Prism you either hold or stake. So I shared a screenshot of the trading fee discounts on Pro Mode in one of the general chats a few hours ago. So if you take a look at that, it basically says that there are different tiers of trading fee discounts, and you might get, for example, if you hold 10,000 Prism, you're going to get 5% discount, for example. And if you stake 100,000 Prism, you get this amount of discount. So there's going to be different tiers. in terms of how much Prism will be allocated for the competitions, and is the amount of price determined by volume or earned fees. So in terms of the amount allocated, that will depend. We're gonna kind of allocate a certain percentage that will go into, let's say, daily competitions. But some of the first trading competitions we're gonna do, the prizes might not be Prism, but might be USDC. So for example, the first competition we might do, there might be, let's say, 5,000 USDC in prizes, and the prize distribution is not going to be only based on the volume exchanged, but also the reason we're kind of building the trading competition functionality for a long time is one of the things that we want to consider in the competitions is the profit and loss analysis. So for example, you might trade only 100 USDC, but you might trade it so that you get, let's say, 200% profit. That's gonna have a lot more impact on the price distribution in some cases than the volume exchanged, because people can just exchange USDC to USDT and they're gonna have a lot of volume. And we don't want we don't want only to kind of encourage a lot of volume, but also traders who want to make profitable trades. So that's going to also play a part. In terms of statistics page of invited referrals, we already track that, and we can pretty much release that tomorrow. But we're waiting for the promo to release. And basically, right now, if we release that, it doesn't have any effect on your discounts or anything like that, how many referrals you have. But for the promo, it's going to have an effect on the cashback, basically the amount of fees you receive from the user you invited. So it's basically going to be the way it works on centralized exchanges. So you invite someone, and as an example, you get 20% of their fees. That's gonna do a lot of. That's gonna help a lot in terms of getting new users and new referrals. So Wonder Girl asked a bunch of questions. Some of that I answered during the Twitter Spaces, but about the promo, basically the integration with Fract is not related to Promode, it's related to Prism in general. So they integrated Prism SDK, the aggregation SDK. So all the volume that's going to be on Fract is going to flow through Prism. But as I said, there are multiple projects that have already integrated Prism, and we're waiting for their confirmation to get them on the AMA and announce and do stuff like that. In terms of Promode marketing, we've got a few things planned for that. I'm not going to say it because then it's going to lose its point basically. But we're going to do something similar as what we did with Symmetry Launch. So there might be some use cases for the holder roles and OG roles, for example, might come into play. In terms of future plans to scale cross-chain NFTs, collaborations, listings, VCs, as I said a few months ago during one of the AMAs, we have a few VCs that are interested, but right now we don't want to raise because it's not really a good time to do raise, because they're gonna negotiate the valuations and stuff like that because of the current market conditions. So after market starts to recover and after we release the promo, we are going to start looking into fundraising as well. In terms of other collaborations, I think the fact that we released the documentation and the integration guide, which was not present before, that's going to help with some of the new projects that are launching and want to integrate an aggregator. So before, if they wanted to integrate our SDK, they had to figure out basically the integration and how it worked, or they had to ask us directly. Now they can basically go to our documentation, which is docs.prism.ag, and they can have the integration guide, which is basically like step-by-step integration for React projects. If you're not building on React, then you can also integrate using just Node and JavaScript. In terms of the cross-chain functionality, as I said, we're not planning to do any cross-chain yet, but after we have some adoption on Solana, then we're gonna start looking into other chains, because right now pretty much the only chains that are worth to expand into right now is Solana and Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain. So other than that, all those like Near Protocol, Terra, Collapse, pretty much, and all those other smaller chains, they don't really have a ecosystem to make it worth to create a bridge to, and basically expand the functionality there, because there's not a lot of demand and volume flowing in those ecosystems. In terms of Symmetry, we are going to be releasing a lot of information about it pretty soon. And it's gonna pretty much revolutionize DeFi and capital efficiency in DeFi. So right now, for example, if you want to swap something, the primary source of liquidity on Solana at least, and pretty much on all other chains, are AMMs, because that's the easiest way to provide liquidity. But there are problems with the AMMs, like slippage, like impermanent loss and stuff like that. So people are looking for a better ways to allocate their capital and kind of earn fees and yield. Symmetry is gonna offer that type of functionality. I'm not gonna say too much, but also it's gonna act as basically the engine for all types of funds on Solana, including index funds and actively managed funds. But apart from funds, there are other use cases that we're gonna announce. So we're about to go through an audit right now, and then in the audit process, we're gonna start announcing a bunch of stuff. And about the technical challenges, yeah, as I said, one of the biggest challenge was for Promode. One of the biggest challenge was tracking all the Serum markets in real time. So I think you asked a second question about that. I'm concerned about the delay in fetching the data and arbitrageurs exploiting that. Can you speak more about that? So there's pretty much no delay between the validator node processing the data, sending it to our backend, and then Prism Pro fetching that data. It's basically like milliseconds. So it's as fast as it can be. Basically what that means is, as soon as a validator catches the transaction, which is like the fastest way to parse transactions is to fetch it from the validator itself. As soon as it fetches the transaction, it sends that to our processing unit on backend, and then that speed is pretty fast. We're basically using some of the fastest processing computers, and that feeds that data in real time to Prism. So you shouldn't be concerned about any arbitrage bots exploiting that. Let's see. CDS also asked about the fundraising, the merchandise. So about the merch, I think like so far we've tried doing a few designs with like Prism logo that we have and stuff like that. But I found an artist that does some pretty epic designs in terms of like, which goes really well with merchandise. It's not gonna be just like Prism branded t-shirt or a hoodie or something like that, but it's gonna be fashionable. So we're exploring that, and I hope that we can kind of drop some news on that and show you guys what it looks like pretty soon. Also, Bombastic said I could help with merge if needed. So if you can message me, or I'm gonna message you, and let's see what you can help with. Mirwal said that I agree that NFTs on Sol are on fire. It's great that Prism worked together with Frac to get access to that market. There were ideas to give away NFTs as prizes for the trading competitions. Will that be random Sol NFTs or specific Prism related NFTs? So one big alpha with that is that it's going to be Prism related NFTs. I'm not going to say any more info on that, but good thing about Fract is that these guys are working pretty hard, and they've been working for over a year now. They're one of the OG projects that launched on Solana. So as the NFT ecosystem grows in Solana, the volume on Fract is going to grow, and thus the Prism volume through Fract is going to grow. So I think that's a pretty important integration. So Wonder Girl says, so for now we have limit orders and borrow and lending, right? Is leverage available? So on Prism mode, initially, what we're going to launch with is limit orders and market orders. In terms of borrow and lending, do you mean like lending from a different protocol or with margin? We're talking about margin, that's going to launch. The margin trading functionality is going to launch after the initial Pro mode launch, because there are two ways we can go about margin trading. So one is using something like Mango, for example, and integrate that. Another way is to create the functionality ourselves, and people will be able to lend the assets directly on Prism, and Prism is going to generate the revenue through borrowing and lending as well. So if we decide to go and build the functionality ourselves, that's going to take a little more time than just integrating Mango. But the benefit of that is that there's going to be a lot more fees generated by the protocol through the margin trading. I guess that's something that the community can also decide on, which you guys prefer. Okay, is there any more questions? He's asleep. Okay, let's see. I guess we can kind of end this AMA as well. We have a bunch of stuff in the works with other projects that that I can't say yet, but you can expect more frequent AMAs from now on, because there's going to be some announcements that we're going to do. And when Symmetry comes out, basically, actually before Symmetry comes out, you might notice something on Prism. It's gonna have a huge impact on the volume future. So you guys could pay attention to, let's say, the liquidity sources on Prism when you're trading. All right, I guess that's pretty much it. I'm gonna I'm gonna put on some music and then we can chill for a minute. Ice cream wallet soon. Yep, one sec. Do you want the website? I'm trying to play some music. You guys have any music suggestions? Okay, it doesn't play any music, so I guess the music playing bot is kind of bugged. So we can we can end the AMA. Yeah. Thanks for joining, guys. By the way, and talk soon.